Hello and welcome everyone to Week 8's version of Lone Star Lineup, and we've got a good one for you. When do we not have a good one for you? But this one's especially good because of Texas. Number 1 Texas hosts number 5 Georgia this week for this week's game of the week. Texas, it seems like Texas is always the game of the week, but how could you blame me? They're the number 1 team in the nation, and when you got a top 5 matchup like Georgia, yeah, it's going to be game of the week. Let's go ahead and talk about this game, but I want to talk about the last appearance between these two squads first because some iconic moments happened that game. Let's go ahead and run the tape.
Never before.
Oh my Lord! Oh!
Bevo!
Oh! Can live television get better than that? No! Maybe that was not the best idea, but we don't care.
Yeah, he's got one thing right. That was probably not the best idea, but nonetheless, it kind of foreshadowed what would happen in the game as Texas would beat Georgia 28-21 and win their first Sugar Bowl since 1947 with that man. I got to switch sides with that man right there, Sam Ehlinger. It was a beautiful game to watch. I was at that game, actually. It was fun to watch. But let's go ahead and talk about some of the differences between these squads since their last meeting, mainly with the quarterback position. That man right there is the new quarterback for the Longhorns. No longer Sam Ehlinger. Quinn Ewers, that is the now starter for the quarterback or for the Longhorns. Now, he's been out 2.5 games this season so far, but finally came back last week against OU where you can see right there, threw for 199 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. That interception came on the first drive, by the way. So that first quarter was rough, but finally started getting things going in the second quarter, second half. Season overall, low numbers, but that's because he's missed 2.5 games, so that's kind of expected. But one thing I do want to mention that isn't on here, his offensive line is phenomenal. The experience in those guys, they've only allowed 2 sacks in the 4 games Quinn has started so far this season. Props to them. Let's go to the other side of the field, though, with the other man right here, Carson Beck. Now, Carson Beck came off a pretty good performance over Mississippi State. Now, they were a 1-loss team. That is Mississippi State's, and they threw 2 interceptions. Not very impressive, but still 459 yards, 3 touchdowns, really good performance. It is that interception ratio, though, right there. 5 interceptions in 7 games of action is not a very good stat, and that's why Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers were both Heisman favorites to start the season. Now, Quinn's been out for 2.5 games, so that kind of took him out of the picture. Carson Beck, that interception ratio and the lack of being able to separate from some of these smaller teams, that's kind of kicked him out. But whoever wins this game, honestly, you can expect for them to be right back in that conversation for the Heisman race because this is a big one. Texas will look to move to 7-0 for the first time since 2009. Meanwhile, Georgia, they're trying to get their name back in that title contention, and we'll see tomorrow as that game will be broadcast at 6:30 p.m. on ABC. Now let's go ahead and start talking about some of the other games in the Lone Star State tomorrow. I'll go ahead and step off screen for y'all. Look at that. I mean, we've got a beautiful lineup for tomorrow as we'll see the North Texas Mean Green take on the Memphis Tigers at 6:30 p.m. on ESPN. Plus, the Texas Tech Red Raiders, off to a wonderful start, I might add, will face off against their rival in the Baylor Bears. That game will be tomorrow at 3 p.m. on ESPN2. And finally, we don't talk about them much, but the Hardin Cinnamon Cowboys are 6-1 on the season, and they will face off against 5-1 McVurry. I mean, phenomenal start of the season so far for both those programs. That game will start tomorrow at 6 p.m. on Flow Sports. And that's pretty much going to do it for this week's lineup. Thank y'all so much for tuning in. I hope y'all have a wonderful day. And please, as always, join me again next week because we got an even better one next week. All right, I'm going to leave y'all to it. Y'all have a great day. I'm Paxton Graff with this week's Lone Star Lineup.